But first, the man in charge of keeping Democrats in the majority, the head of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Representative Chris von Hollen. And Congressman, I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
It's good to be with you, Richard.
Well, set the stage for us here. I'm hearing there's as many as 70 seats here that Republican and Democrats see as viable battleground House races, in addition to 19 open seats. Do I have the math about right?
That's exactly right. We've got about 30 new Democrats in the House of Representatives from districts that had been held previously by Republicans. We need to work very hard to hold those districts. At the same time, we're staying on offense, and we've got about 40 Republican seats in play and counting. And of course, Republican retirements continue to add up. There are about 19 Republicans who already announced their retirement, and those present opportunities as well. So you've got a big battleground on the congressional front this cycle.
Talk about, if you will, what we see on the ground even today with those two special elections. Both of them here, at least certainly one in a seat that's been considered red for a long, long time. Your Republican counterparts spending more than $500,000 between the two races. You guys got a lot deeper piggy bank than the Republicans do. Where do you put your odds at winning seats today?
Well, we have two special elections today, one in Virginia, one in Ohio. The fact is these have been very Republican districts traditionally, and we've made them competitive in these races today. The Republicans have had to spend an awful lot of money trying to defend what typically have been slam dunk Republican districts. No one knows the outcome, of course, until the polls close, but the fact that the Republicans have had to fight so hard to keep traditionally Republican seats is a very bad sign for them.
What's the magic number on the grease board you guys are trying to hit for a supermajority? What do you think is achievable, and what would you take right now?
Well, there is no magic number. We've gone from a situation where most people thought that we would be on defense this cycle, just consolidating our gains, to a position where we're on offense. While we're going to make sure to protect members who have just recently been elected, at the same time we're on offense. We've got more than 40 Republican seats in play. In fact, we've challenged more Republicans than they've been able to challenge Democrats, even though we have 30 new members of Congress on the Democratic side.
You talked about also being on defense. In a moment, we're going to talk about a profile of one of those freshman Democrats, Kirsten Gillibrand in New York. Talk about the challenges these freshman Democrats have in traditionally red districts. You already have people lining up to run against them, a lot of times personally financed here. How tough a challenge are they going to have to keep their jobs?
The Republicans, because of their financial situation, have embarked on what they call the millionaire strategy. They're just looking for people with deep pockets to run. And a person with deep pockets doesn't necessarily have that contact with the community, doesn't necessarily know the issues that are important to people on the ground. So we think we're in a very good position. Kirsten Gillibrand is a great example of somebody who has hit the ground running, earned the respect from people on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats alike, and is known as a fierce advocate for her constituents.
You've seen the poll numbers where they're down on the president, but they're also down on Congress. What is your concern or your hope that's going to get communicated to the electorate to say, listen, maybe we didn't get everything done that we laid out here, but there's a reason for it. It's kind of a complicated narrative to tell in a 30-second spot. How do you, plan here to get that message nonetheless articulated when the people go to the polls next year?
Well, I think what you're seeing is people want a change in direction. So all those polls that show that people aren't thrilled with where Congress is right now also show that people much prefer Democratic leadership in Congress, because they understand that Democrats are the ones that are pushing for change. And they support the Democrats' position in all these polls on all the issues, whether they're domestic issues, foreign policy issues, or national security issues. So yes, people are frustrated, but the American people are very smart, and they can see who's trying to change direction and who's standing in the way of change.
Finally, Congressman, what about the top of the ticket and how that'll play out next year? And I asked that with two different perspectives. You probably saw the Times piece a week ago that said if Hillary's at the top of the ticket, that's going to really make a tough job even tougher for some of those freshman Democrats, let's say in Kansas or in the red states. Moreover, Republicans are praying for it, some of the strategies, because they say that'll raise the monies that are going into fundraising and moreover drive people to the polls that otherwise would have stayed home. What concern is it if Hillary's at the top of the ticket?
Well, I think whoever our Democratic nominee is for president, we're going to be in good shape because they're going to galvanize and energize a lot of folks in this country. And in those congressional districts where our presidential nominee is, regardless of who it is, if it's any of the front runners, in those districts where their position on national issues may not be attuned to the issues that are important to a particular congressional district, it provides our members, our Democratic members of the Congress, actually an opportunity to say to their constituents, look, here's where I agree with our presidential nominee, but here's where I disagree.
Well, Congressman, you sure got a busy year ahead of you. I wish you the best of luck and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.